guest developed a one-woman comedy show following her post-divorce journey. She's taken the show on the road.
Joining us by Zoom this morning is Michelle Trainer, creator of the Divorce Diaries, and we welcome her to our live show. Michelle, so I was reading a little bit about you, and it says you've done Shakespeare. What light through thou window, yon window breaks, and then you go, the window's broke, and then you're doing comedy and Shakespeare and divorce. Yeah, that's the classic mode. That's how everybody gets there, isn't it?
When I feel like I got my undergrad degree was in theater, and so was my master's. So I feel like as a theater, you have that degree where you do Shakespeare to musical theater to film and television. I always had a home in my heart for comedy throughout whatever I was booked at in high school through professional comedy.
Very good.
And comedy is tough.
Yeah.
Comedy is, because I think you have to have the full perspective of understanding the drama of making the laughs happen. So I'm always fascinated when an artist gets that moment of inspo, Michelle, and says, you know what, this is something that needs to be shared. So you developed this show. How did that, I mean, the divorce, yes, but what was the light bulb?
So the light bulb, I've always been creating for my life since I was 19 years old. So it was I had created a one-woman show about being a teacher when I was married, and from that, when I was getting divorced, I was like, I moved back home with my Italian parents, my 92-year-old grandmother, my handicapped dog. I was like this real housewife without the house, living in North Jersey, like with 5 degrees and broke. And I was like, what's happened? So I was like, and I started creating a one-woman play, and then when I first put it up, my friends came and were crying, like bittersweet tears. I was like, ooh, I really want people to laugh at some of this, because laughter actually makes you feel a lot better. And it's not to say that, some people say this to me when they're going through divorce, like close friends are like, Michelle, I don't know how you can make fun of it. I'm like, here's the deal. I'm not saying that it's easy, but I have to poke fun at the stuff that goes on during, even before, during, and after, especially in this world we live in now where like there's so many different outlets to date, and dating after divorce is such a nightmare for a lot of people that like you've got to make fun of some of this stuff. Otherwise you're crying in the hole, like you're crying in a little trench with your therapist, and you're just signing off those therapy bills.
Yeah, and we've all said, a couple of years from now, we'll all laugh about this. Well, why not laugh about it right then, and take it and run with it?
And I think that for me, it was like, I love what I do, and it's like, that's how I heal, and that's why I chose the profession and I teach my daughter that. It's like, you got to find something that really resonates for you in a way where when you're going through a tough time, you can like go to work and be like, this feels good. When I was teaching theater to preschoolers and I was going through my divorce, that was my happy place. And then doing comedy, but it was in a zone of role play and comfort and happiness. And like for those 5 to 6 hours a day, I was not in the lawyer stuff and the short sale of our house and all this craziness. And then I started to create the comedy from like my after work life of like my family, who are so loving and supportive, but we are so off the rocker. We're Italians, we're loud, we're rambunctious, we're changing our mood every 5 seconds. It was like, what's happening? So
Michelle, you'll be here in Richmond at the end of July. The show is July 28th at Firehouse Theater. You mentioned that light bulb, you knew you were onto something because it was resonating. People were shedding tears. Now they're sharing laughs. What has it been like to be out and share this show?
I think the best part is when I travel to different cities, when people come up to me and say, oh my gosh, I can connect to this guy that you do in your show, or I can connect to your family, or those moms at school that are judgy, but they're not saying that they're judgy. And that makes me feel like, well, this is great. I want to keep building and connecting to the people that feel like, sometimes divorce makes you feel like you're not worth it, and you are. So that's the best feeling when I'm on the road, or even just in New York City doing the show.
All right, so I don't want you to give away your act, but is there a divorce joke you can tell on broadcast TV?
Yes, of course.
Oh, of course. Okay, good.
So I have been divorced and single for 7 years. I am so good at it. I'm now being endorsed on LinkedIn.
Good night, everybody.
Don't forget to tip your waitresses.
So I have that special endorsement on LinkedIn there. But they should come see the show because there's even if you're married or not divorced, you're just single, there's a piece, you can find a piece of yourself in the story because it's about like my whole journey. And you go to divorcediaryshow.com to grab the tickets and see more about what the show is. They can catch clips and everything.
And Michelle, I think, you hit the nail on the head in sharing this experience. Of course, you're from New Jersey. You mentioned a big Italian family, but there is that moment of connection where folks have said, that seems like me. I connect with, I feel that connection with your family. You don't feel so isolated. So I imagine not only are you sharing that with your audiences, but you're getting it back too.
Absolutely, especially when people feel like they have to move home with their parents or they have to financially, they kind of feel like, is this me feeling like a failure or is it actually the comfort you need? And a little bit of both. And it's okay to dialogue about that. There's so many people that have to do that, but we don't talk about it as much because, it makes somebody feel like, oh, I haven't, accomplished what I want to accomplish. This is life, and my dad passed 2 years ago and I'm actually really thankful that I had that extra time with him, to be honest with you. So
talk about the bright side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Michelle,
honestly,
thank you
those
so
are my
much.
laughters in
This is a big club, by the way, the Divorcee Club. That's a large group, so you can probably find folks everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing some laughs with us this morning. I like the whole judgy, not judgy, right? We know
judgy,
those.
but not admitting they're judgy.
I could talk with
Right.
you all morning,
And
Michelle.
judging at the same time. Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
thank you
much.
so much for having me. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thanks, darling. It was nice.
Appreciate it. Great talking with Michelle, and we wish her continued success. Can't wait till she makes her way to Richmond.